So in today's video, we're going to look at how many leads should it actually take you to sell a solar system or a heat pump. We speak to installers daily and the conversion rates just vary so much. There's some installers converting as high as 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3 of their inquiries. Others, it goes all the way down to 1 out of 50 because they're dealing with very poor leads and have very poor sales processes. In this video, we're going to run through what separates the high converters from the low converters and how you can get that conversion rate as high as possible. How many leads should it actually take to sell one solar system or one heat pump? Because the truth is that most installers that we speak to are drowning in poor quality leads and just terrible conversion rates. A lot of installers we speak to need 30, 40, 50 inquiries just to make one single sale from that. So we're going to look at the maths behind those terrible conversion rates, where you're losing customers, and then we're going to look at how you can actually fix that and what a proper lead generation system looks like. The common approach for a lot of installers is they buy in cheap or poor quality leads, or they run adverts on Meta or Google, which are poorly set up, and they just hope for the best. The result of that is they have a way too high of a cost per sale, and they're actually working 10 times harder than they should be, chasing people up, going back and forth with their lead provider, and it all just ends up a bit of a mess and a headache, which is why a lot of installers have a bad experience and then just rely on word of mouth and referrals again. The most common reason why this breaks down is dealing with leads which are low intent. So either you're picking the wrong lead provider or your ad campaign is set up to drive poor quality leads. Second is you're dealing with a lot of recycled data. If you are using a lead provider, they are giving you leads sold 3, 4, 5 times, and a lot of the time the blame can actually fall on the installer. So they have poor follow-up, they're slow to get to leads, they don't use multiple channels, they don't have a sales process, and they're just simply calling people and hoping for the best. So where it all falls apart, what we'll look at is each stage from when a lead comes in through to that getting called and booked, through to that survey actually taking place and a sale being made, why you're having such a low conversion rate at these particular stages and what you can do about that. So let's just say you get in 50 leads, so whether that's through a ad campaign or you buy in a batch of 50, you've got a relatively good cost per lead, so £30 cost per lead, but only half your leads you actually ever reach. So you have a 50% contact rate that instantly turns your cost per lead to £60. Some of the reasons why this can happen is poor qualification. You don't use phone number validation on your forms. People also fill a old phone number, or they manually input a phone number that had a typo in it. You get a lot of fake information or typos coming through, meaning that you have poor contact rate. Second reason you might have a poor contact rate is you have zero qualification or friction on the form. So people fill out a form, they click autofill and it's done just to see if they can get a price or get a freebie. Those people don't actually want a phone call because they never pick up. Then the third reason, which a lot of installers actually overlook, is just poor follow-up. They take hours rather than minutes or seconds to get to leads, and they only call them a handful of times. So they might try 2 or 3 times and could consider that lead not interested, rather than calling twice a day for at least a week. If you are dealing with poor contact rates, take a look at these 3 things, because the vast majority of your leads should be picking up the phone to you and should be engaging. Out of those 25 leads you are actually able to contact, which are now costing you £60, let's say you book about 1 out of 3 of those in for a survey, so you have about 33% booking rate on contactable leads. That would make your cost per booking £180. Reason why you might get hold of people and only 1 out of 3 of those actually want to go ahead with a survey. Firstly, slow follow-up. As sort of touched upon previously, if you take days to get to people, their intent has dropped off, they've already inquired elsewhere, and they've gone ahead with another company, they've gone off the idea. There are so many things that come into play that will then stop them actually booking in a survey with you. Secondly would be a unstructured process. So if you or staff are calling up leads without a solid script, objection handling techniques, and just process to get a customer from inquiry stage through to booking, then you're just hoping for the best. What you need is a system where your staff can follow a script, you review call recordings, and you actually improve that process to get that booking rate as high as possible. And then the third thing is you're just attracting the wrong type of lead. So you're attracting people that are information seekers, unqualified, not that interested, which if you are, you need to be looking at the messaging of your adverts that are actually attracting these leads in the first place. Let's say out of those 8 surveys that get booked in, only 4 of those actually go ahead successfully. Your cost per shown booking is now £360, because between you booking that survey and you being able to handle a quote, people cancelled, were unqualified, rescheduled, whatever it might be. So first reason this happened is poor availability. We speak to some installers who say they only do surveys on Mondays, or they only do surveys on 2 days a week. They make customers change their schedules to work around the installer. That just leads to a lot of cancellations and a lot of reschedules, because someone might say, yep, I can make Friday work on the phone, and then it actually gets the day before, it's inconvenient, and they end up cancelling. So you want to have as wide availability as possible, open up your calendar, 5, 6, 7 days a week, accommodate evenings, and just really try and work around the customer. Second reason reason you get a lot of people cancel is you don't properly nurture people before the survey. If you don't send any emails or texts, first of all, reminding people the survey's happening, and then second, giving them information, case studies, FAQs, all that means is people aren't excited for the appointment or they lack information. Either way, they're going to end up cancelling because either they don't see any value in it and they'd rather spend 2 hours doing something else, or they actually cancel because they booked in a survey, they're unsure who's coming around and what they're going to be doing. Either way, you need to make sure that between you booking that customer in and your surveyor turning up at the front door, you've got multiple touch points to nurture the customer, remind them, and actually educate the customer and build value in that survey. Final thing is there is no value in the call. Someone's on the phone, they book them in and they treat it as another task rather than actually building the excitement for the customer. So if you don't build enough rapport or enough value or excitement in that booking when you make it, people might agree on the phone, and then as soon as they get off or when they get that reminder text, they just want to cancel because they're not actually fully sold on the process yet. You've now got to the point where you're actually, out of those 50 leads that we discussed at the start, doing some surveys. You've got 4 surveys that actually go ahead. So your cost per booking is £360. Let's say you even had a fairly average conversion rate of 1 out of 4. You're now at a cost per sale of about £1,400, and that's with a £30 cost per lead and a 25% sales conversion rate. But because you've got so many issues in the middle of actually contacting customers, booking them, getting them to show, it just massively actually inflates your cost per sale. The reason why you might only convert 1 out of 4, which isn't terrible, but it's not amazing. Firstly, lack of trust with the customer. So if you don't effectively build trust ahead of the survey and during the survey, the customer's not going to trust you with £10,000 of their money and to make these major upgrades to their home. Second reason is high competition. So if you're working with a lead provider, or even if you're slow getting to customers and they've already had 3 or 4 other quotes, that recycled lead just increases the competition and reduces the likelihood of you actually converting them. And then the third thing, and probably the most common, is you just have a weak sales process. So you don't actually have a reliable way to get someone from being interested to educated to actually buying from you. You end up spending hours quoting people and providing information without actually guiding them through to a sale. So they're the 3 sort of main issues that a lot of installers face at the install stage, and the issues that we've run through are why a lot of installers are at a cost per sale which is just not manageable for them. On the flip side, what a lot of installers are doing and what we provide is they just pay per appointment and they have a consistent 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 conversion rate, meaning their cost per appointment is consistently somewhere from £400 to £800 without them having to upfront the capital of paying a marketing agency or funding the ad spend or dealing with recycled leads or wasting time trying to get hold of people that aren't interested. They simply get a pre-qualified survey sent across into their calendar. They turn up, they only pay per quote, and as long as their conversion rates are consistent, they know exactly what they pay per appointment and what their cost per sale is. Doing it this way, and if you are interested in doing it this way, there's more information on the link down in the description. You just focus on quoting customers and installing jobs. Everything else is taken care of by our team. You're only actually paying for real outcomes rather than dealing with all the headaches of having to improve contact rates, lead rates, show up rates, because none of those actually matter because you're not paying for them. In terms of some benchmarks that you should be aiming for as a minimum, a 30% booking rate is something good to aim for. So 1 out of 3 of the inquiries you get convert into an actual survey. From when you book that customer to them actually showing up to the survey and that survey going ahead, you want to aim for at least 80%. So 4 out of 5 customers go ahead with the survey you booked. And then you want to be converting at least 1 out of 4 of those surveys through into an installation. If you are going to go ahead doing your own marketing campaigns or purchasing leads, then you want to be tracking these numbers consistently and have a close eye on them, because if your cost per sale is too high, it's likely one of these 3 things that is the factor in that, and whatever is out of KPI is what you should be focusing on. However, as I said, if you do just want to focus on doing the quotes and doing the installs, in the description there is a link which tells you a bit more about how we operate on a pay per quote model.